I want you to be honest with me for a second. Have you ever felt like a criminal in your own home? Let me paint a picture for you. It's the weekend. You have just survived a brutal week. You dealt with the stress at work. You sat in traffic for hours. You paid the bills. And you handled every problem that life threw at you. You are physically and mentally drained. All you want only thing you are asking for is 30 minutes of silence. Just 30 minutes to turn your brain off, sit on the couch, and stare at the wall. You aren't asking for a vacation to Hawaii. You are just asking for a moment of peace. So, you sit down. You finally exhale. You feel your muscles relax. You pick up the remote or your phone, and you enter your safe zone. But then, the atmosphere changes. You don't even have to look up to know what happened. You can feel it. Your partner walks into the room, and suddenly, the air in the room becomes heavy. It becomes thick. She doesn't scream at you. In fact, she doesn't say a single word. But she doesn't have to. You see her aggressively folding the laundry. You see her picking up a cushion and throwing it back onto the chair just a little too hard. She walks past you into the kitchen, and you hear the cabinet slamming. You hear a loud, heavy sigh that echoes through the whole house. You are sitting there, doing absolutely nothing wrong, but your heart rate starts to climb. You start feeling this knot in your stomach. You feel guilty. You feel like a lazy teenager who is about to get grounded by his mother. You stop enjoying your rest. You are looking at the TV, but you aren't watching it anymore. You are just waiting for the explosion, or worse, waiting for the silence to suffocate you. You think to yourself, I do everything for this family. I work hard. Primera, probid. Why is it that the moment I sit down, I become the villain? Why does my relaxation make her so angry? Why can't she just sit down next to me and chill? It feels like she hates your peace. It feels like she resents the fact that you can relax, and she can't. And usually, this ends in a fight. You ask her what's wrong. She says nothing, but her eyes tell you that you are in big trouble. But what if I told you that you are completely misinterpreting the situation? What if I told you that her anger has nothing to do with you being lazy, and nothing to do with the dishes in the sink? What is happening in that moment is a biological shift. When a woman sees a man sitting completely still, staring at nothing, it triggers a primal, evolutionary alarm in her brain. It triggers a panic response that dates back thousands of years. To you, you are just resting. But to her subconscious brain, you have just signaled that the environment is unsafe. In this video, we are going to go deep into the psychology of the male and female brain. We're not going to give you generic relationship advice. We're going to explain why men and women recharge their batteries in completely opposite ways, and why your stillness looks like a threat to her survival. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why she gets angry. You will know exactly how to hack this psychological trigger, so you can finally get the guilt-free rest you deserve, without starting a war in your living room. To understand why your wife or girlfriend can't stand seeing you do nothing, we have to go back in time. We have to look at how our brains evolved over the last 50,000 years. Because even though we live in modern houses with electricity and iPhones, our brains are still running on ancient software. Let's look at the male brain first. For thousands of years, the primary role of the male was that of the hunter. Now, think about the energy required for a hunt. It is explosive. It is you have to track the animal, you have to sprint, you have to fight, and you have to drag a heavy weight back to the tribe. It is 100% exertion. But what happens after the hunt? This is the key. After the hunt, the male must conserve energy. He has to completely shut down his system to rebuild his calories for the next hunt. For a man, doing nothing isn't laziness. It is a survival mechanism. It is the recharge phase. When a man sits on the couch and stares at the wall, he is literally entering a standby mode. He isn't thinking about the bills, or the kids, or future. He is thinking about absolutely nothing. His brain is offline. Now, let's look at the female brain. While the men were out hunting, the women were gathering and nurturing. Now, gathering is very different from hunting. It is not explosive. It is continuous. It requires a 360-degree awareness. She has to look for berries, but at the same time, she has to listen for predators in the bushes, keep an eye on the fire so it doesn't go out, and watch the children so they don't wander off. Her brain evolved to be a scanner. She is constantly scanning the environment for threats and tasks. She cannot afford to switch off. If she switches off, the baby gets hurt. If she switches off, the food burns. If she switches off, a predator attacks. So, fast forward to 2024. You are sitting on the couch. Your brain is in hunter recovery mode. You're physically present, but mentally, you're offline. You're safe. But then she walks in. Her brain is still in scanner mode. She looks at you, and she doesn't see a man recovering from work. Her biological brain sees a watchman who has fallen asleep on duty. You see, to her subconscious mind, your stillness is terrifying. She looks at the environment and sees threats. She sees the clutter on the table. She hears the laundry machine beeping. She remembers the appointment for tomorrow. Her brain is screaming at her that there is work to be done to keep the nest safe. And when she looks at you, doing nothing, it amplifies her anxiety. She feels like she is the only one keeping the ship afloat. She feels like she's alone in the storm. And that fear quickly turns into anger. This brings us to the biggest misunderstanding between men and women, the concept of the mental load. This is usually where the argument starts. You see her running around, stressed out, and you say something logical. You say, "Babe, why don't you just sit down? The dishes can wait. The laundry isn't going anywhere. Just relax." You think you are being helpful. You think you are giving her permission to rest, but instead of saying thank you, she snaps at you. She says, "I can't just sit down. If you sit down, who is going to do it?" Why does she react like that? Why can't she just turn it off like you do? The answer lies in how our brains handle tasks. Men tend to be compartmentalized. We can focus on one box at a time. When we are at work, we are at work. When we are watching a game, we are watching a game. We can close the work box and open the relaxation box. But the female brain is more like a web of interconnected highways. It operates on what psychologists call open loops. Let me give you an example. When a man decides to cook dinner, his brain sees a single task: cook the steak. That's Italiano. But when a woman cooks dinner, her brain opens a dozen loops at once. She thinks, "Okay, I'm cooking the steak. But wait, do we have enough leftovers for the kids' lunch tomorrow? If not, I need to make a backup plan. Oh, speaking of kids, did I sign that permission slip? I need to check his backpack." And while I'm in the kitchen, I notice the dishwasher's making a weird noise. We need to call the repair guy. And did we pay the electric bill? It is a constant, never-ending stream of, did I forget something? So, when you tell her to just sit down, you are asking her to do the impossible. You are asking her to sit down while 50 different alarm bells are ringing in her head. To her, sitting down while there are open loops doesn't feel like relaxation. It feels like torture. It feels like physical pain. And this is where the resentment kicks in. When she sees you relaxing, she isn't just seeing a man on a couch. She is looking at a mirror of what she wishes she could be. She is jealous of your off switch. She looks at you and thinks, "How can he be so calm? Does he not know we are out of milk? Does he not care that the house is a mess? How can he just turn his brain off when mine is on fire?" She interprets your peace as negligence. She thinks you don't care about the home. Because if you did care, you would be as stressed as she is. In her mind, love equals shared worry. If you aren't worrying with her, then you must not love the family as much as she does. There is another layer to this that most men completely miss. It is the connection between a woman and her environment. For a man, a house is a place where we keep our stuff. If there is a pair of socks on the floor, it's just a pair of socks. It's an object. It doesn't mean anything. We can step over it and not even notice it. But for a woman, the home is often an extension of her mind. It is a reflection of her internal state. When the house is chaotic, she feels chaotic inside. When the sink is full of dirty dishes, she doesn't just see a chore. She feels a loss of control. Clutter, dirt, and unfinished tasks are perceived as visual noise. Imagine trying to relax while someone is screaming in your ear. That is what a messy room feels like to her. So, when she starts aggressively cleaning while you are trying to rest, she isn't doing it just to annoy you. She is trying to So she is trying to organize her external world so that she can feel calm internally. But here is the trap. When she is frantically trying to restore order, and she sees you lying amidst the chaos, unbothered, it triggers a deep feeling of abandonment. She thinks, I'm drowning in this mess, and he's just watching me drown. This is why she slams the doors. This is why she sighs loudly. She is making noise because she wants you to wake up. She wants you to look around and say, I see the chaos too. Let me help you fix it. She doesn't want a servant. She wants a partner. She wants to know that she isn't the only one carrying the burden of maintaining the nest. When you remain horizontal, you are confirming her worst fear, that she is all alone in this responsibility. Now, let's get a little darker. Let's talk about the dynamic of respect and attraction. Deep down, every woman wants a captain. She wants a partner who is capable, alert, and driving the ship. This doesn't mean she wants to be controlled, but she wants to know that if a storm comes, you are ready. When you are in your off mode for too long, or at the wrong times, you stop looking like the captain. You start looking like a passenger. A passenger is someone who is just along for the ride. They don't worry about the destination. They don't worry about the fuel. They just sleep in the back seat. When she feels like she has to manage the house, the kids, the schedule, the bills, and the social calendar while you play video games, she feels like she has become the mother of the house and you have become another child she has to take care of. And here is the brutal truth. A woman cannot be sexually attracted to a man she feels she has to mother. Resentment is the greatest killer of intimacy. Every time she walks past you and thinks, must be nice to do nothing, a little brick is added to a wall between you two. She starts to resent your freedom. She starts to hate the fact that you can reclaim your time, while she feels like a slave to the endless to-do list. And this resentment comes out as passive-aggressive anger. It comes out as the silent treatment. It comes out as the rejection of your touch. You think she's just being difficult, but in reality, she is exhausted from being the only adult in the room. So, what is the solution? This sounds depressing, right? Does this mean you can never rest? Does this mean you have to work 24/7 just to keep her happy? Absolutely not. That leads to burnout. And a burnt-out man is useless to everyone. You need your rest. You need your nothing box. The solution is not to stop resting. The solution is to change how you rest. You need to manage her anxiety so that you can reclaim your peace. I call this technique the preemptive strike. Most men make the mistake of just collapsing on the couch without a word. This creates uncertainty. She doesn't know if you are sitting down for 5 minutes or 5 hours. She doesn't know if you have seen the mess or if you are ignoring it. So, next time, before you sit down, do this. Walk up to her. Look her in the eye. Establish a connection and say something like this. Hey babe, I can see that the kitchen is a mess and things are crazy right now. I am exhausted and I need to recharge my batteries. I'm going to sit down and do nothing for exactly 30 minutes. After that, I'm going to get up and I will handle the dishes. Is that okay? Let's break down why this magic sentence works. First, you validated her reality. You said, I see the mess. You acknowledged the chaos. This immediately turns off her panic alarm because she knows she isn't crazy. She knows. You see it too. Second, you set a boundary. You said 30 minutes. This removes the uncertainty. She knows you aren't checking out for the whole night. She can tolerate 30 minutes because she sees the finish line. Third, you offered a plan. You said, I will handle the dishes. This reassures her that she is not alone. You are still the captain. You are just taking a break. When you do this, you are hacking her psychology. You are giving her the safety and security she needs to let go. You will be amazed at the difference. Instead of slamming doors, she might actually say, okay, take your time. She might even sit down next to you. Because now that she knows the captain has a plan, she feels safe enough to turn off her own scanner. At the end of the day, the battle over rest isn't really about who does more chores. It's about connection. It's about feeling seen. She gets angry because she feels invisible in her stress. You get defensive because you feel unappreciated in your work. But we have to remember that we are wired differently. Her brain is a continuous radar. Yours is a focused laser. Neither is better. Neither is worse. They are just different. Your need for stillness is not a crime, and her need for order is not a flaw. The conflict only stops when you stop fighting her biology and start working with it. So, the next time you feel that tension in the room, don't ignore it. Don't hide in your phone. Step up. Give her the reassurance she needs. Because when she feels safe, you get to be free. And that is a win for everyone.